Good day, everybody. Today I am bringing you a layout with a lot of old stash and a combination of two papers that never in my wildest dreams would I have thought would go together until I actually put them together. So what I did there is I started out with a photo, and I really wanted it to stand out on that sassafras paper. And that sassafras paper is Sunshine Broadcast. It's the Golden Hour paper from 2011. And it's very busy, so I knew I would need something to help that stand out. And I pulled a fabric frame from the original Maggie Holmes collection. So now I'm just auditioning some papers because I've decided I need that photo to rest on something. And I decided that I wanted to do some sort of bordered paper on the right side of that layout to rest the photo on. And that's what I'm doing here. The other thing that I was doing is I was just taking a measurement to figure out how wide those border strips are, because I want to keep that bottom scalloped border. That's one of the coolest things about those old sassafras papers. Those borders were just brilliant. I just love them. So I took that floral paper, which is another old one. It's from My Mind's Eye, Wild Asparagus, and the paper name is The Cutest Thing, and that's from 2006. So that really is a paper that's probably almost original to my stash. I love that collection. I have some of those papers left and I haven't used them, so I thought, what the heck, and pulled that out because it just worked out really well. And now what I'm doing is I'm inking edges here. It's just giving the paper a little bit more dimension. I'm not going to mount this on anything to frame it, and it's so busy that I wanted to make sure that it stood out. So, and now you see the back of that beautiful paper, but I used that other piece with all the borders, which is really cool. Now that piece there, the little title, or I think it said Sweetheart if I remember correctly, was way too bright. So I made that frame work for me. I think I haven't used it before because of that bright pink, and just pulled it off. I thought there's no reason why I can't use this like this. Time to get these fabric frames out of my stash. I didn't write the year that original Maggie Holmes collection came out, but oh my gosh, that's probably 4 years old at least. So now I really like the way that's looking, but the photo looks like it's floating where it's sitting, and I'm kind of trying to figure that out. What I was going to do here is I was thinking about moving this all over to the other side, because, or that paper over to the other side, because the way the photo is oriented, I actually might have liked that better, but when I tried to pull the Wild Asparagus paper off, it had already adhered. So I thought, what the heck, we're just going to leave it. Now, when I pulled that little strip off the frame, it pulled some of the threads out. So I found something to put on there, but it's not going to stay. And here's another one of those ingenious things that I would never have believed was going to work until I actually tried it. I had pulled out my sassafras border strip sticker sheet, and I pulled up that pink border and put it on because I wanted a border to go over the top of the join in those two papers. And I pulled that pink border, and it worked just brilliantly. Crazy, but it did. So that's Sassafras Lass, and that is the flag banners from Sunshine Broadcast. This is just one of those layouts that it just went together so beautifully. I just could not have imagined it. So that beautiful sticker there on the bottom of the frame is not going to stay. I'm going to end up doing something else different than that. And now I'm trying to figure out, I know I'm going to need something to journal on, and I also want something for that photo to rest on, some sort of cluster, because I want to ground it a little bit. And I also want to give that photo some space from the rest of the layout. So that's what I'm doing now. And right now I'm playing with the Maggie Holmes die cut pack, or ephemera pack from Confetti, from the birthday line she did a couple years ago. But I'm going to quickly decide that none of those are working. What was happening with those confetti die cuts is they were a little bit too big and too busy, and they're on a much whiter background than the sassafras papers are. And they're not going to work. So I am going to play with this for a little bit. What this photo, while I'm playing with those, what this photo is it's a picture of the gas fireplace in my living room. And it was freezing cold on this morning. This is pretty early in the morning, I think, 7 o'clock or so. And I turned my fireplace on because it was so cold. And I took a picture of it. So I just kept thinking frosty morning when I looked at this, and somehow these papers are a little frosty looking too, even though there's flowers on them. While I was talking, I pulled that journaling card from a Maggie Holmes pack. It's from Style Board, and that pink just did a really nice job of highlighting it. It got rid of the whiteness of everything else that I was looking at. And then what I did is I put the confetti pack away, and I pulled out my Craft Market ephemera pack, and that is what I'm going to end up settling on. Some of those pieces, the 2 white pieces there, are still from confetti. So I'm still playing around and working with both packs at the same time. They're both off to the left on my desk. Now I liked that piece of ephemera up there because it balances the teal color of that hold tag, and I just like that color balance, but it's not going to end up staying. And then as I was working with this, I decided it would be nice if I could use a third spot with that teal color. And I pulled that little faux stamp from Craft Market, and I'm going to make a little cluster up at the top there. So I'll only end up with 2 pieces of the turquoise, but that turquoise really focuses your eye towards the picture. It'll be in 2 spots, so a little mini diagonal. And I'm building my clusters out there a little bit. So I added that little 2 card there. The 2 has really nothing to do with anything other than maybe it was 2 degrees out. And seriously, it probably was about 2 degrees out. So that kind of makes sense, but that's not why I used it. I used it because I liked it. And I put the Admit 1 there because it was just me at home. What's going to happen, and the reason I'm going to pull that top teal piece off, is because I realized that when I go to do my title, I don't have a good flat spot for my title, so that's why that's going to come off. I'm playing around with that glitter ampersand sign. There's a little bit of glitter in the February arrow that I have on there right now, and I wanted to echo that again somewhere else. But that ampersand is going to come off, the February is going to move, and I'm going to find these little heart punches. And once I do that, that's going to make a lot more sense to me. That paper there is Recollections glitter paper. It's really nice because it is sealed. It doesn't sprinkle glitter all over on you. And that little small heart punch was something I bought at Hobby Lobby. I also am going to use a heart punch that's a little bit bigger, and that one on the bottom there on the frame, and that punch is from Martha Stewart, and I think I got it at Michael's if I remember correctly. So now I'm just cutting that journaling card down because I don't need the whole thing, and the pink is kind of nice, so I might be able to use that somewhere else. I use journaling cards quite a bit, so it's nice if I have something to journal on there. And I'm just pulling all those pieces down, as I said, and inking them. And the inking of those pieces really helps them pop off of that really busy paper. I used Vintage Photo, I believe, on this one. So Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. That's my go-to ink when I'm using brown ink, is that Vintage Photo. I think I also have tea dyed, but it's a little bit orange for me, and walnut stain, but that's a little bit dark for me. So I don't use either of those 2 as much as I do the Vintage Photo. And now I've kind of got the placement, most of the placement. I haven't figured out yet that I don't really have a good place for my title to rest, but I will shortly. Get that all down. And I use for those of you for the first time that you're watching this video, I tend to use Scotch ATG adhesive as my go-to. So I know the tape glider is pretty big, but I really like it. So those hearts, what I do is when I use glitter paper on a layout and I have leftovers, I just punch those hearts out and I keep them in a little dish that's really right up in front of me. And I just pull them as I need them. Right now I'm working on a wedding album for my nephew, so I'm using these hearts quite a bit, and I just finished an engagement album for my other nephew. So I use these hearts quite a bit, but I've also been using them quite a bit on my own layouts. I just like the touch of sparkle that they add. So I've just added a couple of pieces to that little top cluster there. That arrow sticker that I haven't put back on, but is just sitting on the right side of the layout at the moment, that is actually from Fancy Pants. It's label stickers from the Moments collection. So that's also pretty old. Definitely, probably 3 or 4 years old as well, too. And I put that little heart there, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to get that label sticker in there somewhere, so I'm going to fiddle around with that a little bit to get that figured out. Cutting things a little bit and getting that cluster down. I will often ink edges to help things stand out. You know, that's a trick that I think Shamel has all taught us over the years. So I ink quite a bit if it's busy. And I use 3 primary inks to ink. I use the Vintage Photo from Tim Holtz. My black is usually Jenny Bolin fountain pen, and then I use a Dewdrop ink. I think it's Memento, but it's Dewdrop, and that one is gray flannel. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so now I know I want my title to be Frosty Morning, and I pulled my gold letter stickers out, and I want the title to be on there, but I don't want it to be so prominent. So I'm playing a little bit with these larger letter stickers, and I'm not liking it because I realized that I don't have enough space. So what I did here, instead of using one of the larger alphabets that I was going to use, I'm going to use a Dear Lizzie alphabet. And that's the Dear Lizzie alphabet right there. That is Dear Lizzie Fox. And that's an older set. I love that alphabet, and then I found it at, I don't even remember, at a website that had a lot of thickers. So here I'm looking at that title. And actually, I'm sorry, I haven't pulled out the Fox. The Fox alphabet is there, but I haven't decided to use it yet. I'm playing with that and realizing, oh yeah, the morning is a little bit too big, and it's not laying right for me. So I'm kind of playing around with that. And I pulled that, like I said, I pulled that ephemera peck out. I lay my titles on wax paper most of the time because that really allows me to position them and move them around. So that's what I'm doing. And what I did here is I pulled mini letter stickers out, and those are in gold, and those are from Dear Lizzie. Now I have the Fox. I guess, I'm sorry, I had the Fox alphabet out the whole time, but I was using caps, and then I decided I needed to use lowercase. That's what it was, sorry. I did this layout about 10 days ago, and it was a layout for Load, which is layoutaday.com. You do one layout a day in the month of February. I think I did 53 in total during the month of February, but I scrap so much that sometimes I forget details, and I videoed quite a few of the layouts, so some of the details as I'm going through have gotten a little bit foggy. So that is the Fox alphabet in lowercase, and I'm going to use that to spell out morning, and then I'll pull these Dear Lizzie mini letter stickers for the Frosty piece of it. And I put that piece of ephemera back. I'm just not liking, I'm not liking all the color behind morning is what's going on here. So I'm futzing around with it and fiddling with it and trying to figure out what to do. And I decided I needed to line up the journaling card with the frame at the top because I want a flat surface, a quote flat surface, or horizontal flat horizontal line, a horizontal line for that to lay on. So fortunately, nothing was stuck down too much. And there I decided, you know what, that's just not working. That ephemera's not working in there. I'm going to just do it without it. Nope, it's back. It's funny when you watch yourself and you realize how many times you reposition things. And I think this layout took me about 55 minutes. So I just pulled out my fine line bottle there, and I have my Scotch Quick Dry in it just to get those really little edges of the frame down. And because I hadn't stuck those down, that's why it was so easy for me to pull up the journaling card there. The only thing that's hard about that is as you get older, it's hard to see where that little needle end goes, but it's well worth it to have it in that tip. So now I'm just going to put these down. I believe that besides, and I know this for sure, besides the load that I did this page for the layout a day, I also submitted this to the Mercy Tiara 27-day challenge on Facebook. She has a new Facebook group, and she does a challenge a month. So this one was to dig into your stash and use old stash. So I thought I did pretty well considering I used a paper from 2006. I think maybe I need to make it my goal to use up that wild asparagus collection on something just besides this one layout. And again, I'm looking at this layout and thinking, I could have looked at those papers, and I have looked at those papers. There's no way I would ever have thought that those would go together. So now I'm trying to figure out where I want to put that February arrow, because I didn't like it right under the title. So I'm playing around with that, and I'm going to settle on that place there. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my big roll of the Scotch foam tape and putting it under the arrow to give it a little bit of height there. And I've used up about half of that roll. I think I've had it for about 1.5 years now. You can buy it on Amazon. It certainly is way more cost effective than all those tiny little rolls. Just getting a few more things glued down there, and then I'll just journal about how cold it was that morning. And this was February 13th, so it was a Saturday morning. I didn't write down how cold it was, but that it was 0 or a little bit below those mornings for a couple of mornings there. We haven't had a very cold winter, but this day was. So I'm just about to finish up my journaling here. Hope you are all having a great day. I'm excited because this weekend I will be videoing my first layout for the Crafty Maven getaway, and it will go up the following weekend, so the weekend of, I believe, the 12th, if I remember correctly. It'll go up on March 12th, so definitely look for me there. And I will also still be posting layouts on my own channel. Hope you're all well. Bye!